Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to be looking at probing strategies and how they can be applied in the classroom. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. Now, when we're talking about probing, we're using different tools to help a student to arrive at an answer. And so the student is kind of partially on the way there, or maybe their answer was incorrect. And with the benefit of probing strategies, you are able to help the student to discover the correct answer without necessarily giving it to the student. And so again, this helps with autonomy and independent learning, and it provides an example of what the student can do for themselves internally, to try to arrive at, proper conclusions. And so in this video, we're looking at three different strategies or ways of bringing probing into the classroom. The first one is eliciting, the second one is soliciting, and the last one is redirecting. So with eliciting, you as the teacher are trying to encourage clarification from a student. In other words, the student has said something and it doesn't really make sense completely. And as the teacher, you're trying to help the student to clean up their answer so that you're able to understand and perhaps the rest of the class is able to understand. So the rest of the bullets on this screen is like a little skit between a teacher and a student named Dan that kind of gives you an example of what this looks like in a classroom on a day-to-day experience. So the teacher says, "Dan, what do we use a t-test for?" And then Dan says, "To see if there is a difference." That's correct, but the teacher wants clarification. The teacher is trying to elicit, is trying to pull more information from Dan, and they say the following in italics. What kind of difference? In other words, we need more information. And then Dan says a difference between two groups. And so now we go from an answer that was correct in the beginning to one that is clearer, more correct. In other words, it provides more context around what type of difference we are looking for. And this is an example of probing using the technique or the type of eliciting. Let's now move to soliciting. And so with soliciting, you're trying to pull additional info to extend a response. So these are soliciting and eliciting are very similar strategies, but they kind of arrive at a slightly different answer. And if you think they're the same, that's really okay. The point here is to have different tools that are available to you as an educator to help your kids in class. So let's take a look at the actual little skit here. So, you can see that it's the same question and answer each time. So the teacher asks about what is a t-test. The student says to see if there is a difference between two samples. That's a correct answer. And then the teacher asks again, what do you mean by difference? Again, this is pretty clear. And so then Dan extends his answer. He provides more information and he says a statistical difference based on the alpha level chosen. So again, this kind of gives a little bit of a richer response. Again, this, unlike eliciting where the initial answer might not be clear, with soliciting, the initial answer might be clear, but you want more information. With eliciting, you want more information because the original answer is not clear. With soliciting, the answer may be clear and you want more information to extend the response for learning purposes. For the final one, we're looking at redirecting. And so redirecting is where you're trying to guide a student who gives an incorrect answer to giving a correct answer. And again, this happens in the classroom all the time. A kid just gives the wrong answer and there's no reason to stop and give up there. With using some different questioning skills, you can help that student to uncover the correct answer. So again, the skit here starts with Dan and a teacher talking about a t-test. And so if you look down at the third bullet, it says, or let me just start over. So the teacher says, Dan, what do we use a t-test for? And then Dan says, to see if two groups are the same. Now that's incorrect. This is the problem right here, in that they have said that a t-test tells if two groups are the same. And so the teacher realizes this, and instead of just saying, hey, you're wrong, what's the matter with you? The teacher asks a follow-up question to help to guide the student in the right direction. So the teacher says same or different. In other words, are you sure that a t-test tests the two groups are the same or if the two groups are different? Again, it makes a difference, no pun intended. And then Dan says, oh, I think we want to see if they are different. So again, without going into details, you assume there is no difference and you're trying to uncover something else here when you're doing a statistical t-test. Okay, you're trying to see if there might be a difference, what the probability of that is. And so the teacher was able to guide Dan to see how they might have been looking at this the wrong way as an example. Now, to wrap up this video, we need to remember that there are 3 different ways, at least, that you could bring probing into your classroom. Eliciting, cleaning up an answer that is unclear. Soliciting, extending an answer that might be clear, but you want a little bit more help. And redirecting, which involves a strategy of guiding students from making an incorrect answer to making a correct answer. So these are 3 strategies that are associated with probing, which is an approach or a skill set of trying to pull additional information from a student for whatever learning purposes the teacher may have. So my name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you so much for watching, and you take care.